Jeez. Hey,
Nice to kind of meet you. I don't know if we've ever really officially met or just
no, we haven't met. But before our introduction, I want to put this on record.
yeah.
I invite you and David at the same time, and you show up first. I know he has an obligation. I know he's working, but I feel like the viewer needs to know that, hey, Chase Johnson is showing up earlier than our host, hosting the interview, Dave.
Yeah, we all love David, but I think he likes doing a lot of things, and he doesn't always get on time to some things. But
no, I don't think we've ever met before. No, I don't think we have. I feel like I've heard a ton about you through Dave. I feel like he's brought you up quite a bit, because you were you like coached after you played there for a few years, and that kind of overlapped with like David working down there, right?
yeah, exactly. Yep, he was in admissions when I was 1 or a year and however long he was there. His whole time there, I was there too. So that was a blast having him down there because St. Peter's a good college town. Once you get out of college, not the best place to live. Not a lot of young people to hang around with, besides maybe other assistant coaches or an admissions guy like David. So that was a blast. I didn't even know him that well before he came down. Honestly, it was just kind of another tennis guy, and but we got to know each other pretty well down there as a couple of the only young guys in St. Peter there. So that's where I really got to know him. But yeah, I've heard. I mean, same with you, or like I've heard a lot about you through him, and just like he loves talking Concordia tennis too, which is cool. But yeah, it's funny. I think, did we play one time? The only time, I don't even remember this match that well, but I thought we played doubles ITA 1 year.
We played against each other.
Yeah,
obviously.
I think
we were obviously not on the same team.
I think it was the second round. Let's see. What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2018.
Okay.
If it was doubles, that would be, I mean, like, no offense to you, but that would be like an opponent I would forget. In singles, I would not forget my opponent.
Yeah.
It's more of like a match, but like sometimes doubles, like you're so focused on like what you have to do and like your partner that I don't like remember, like, honestly, like doubles opponents.
No, we'll have to ask David because he remembered, and I like.
Was it David and I against you and
I
Mike
played with. Yeah.
Okay. Did you guys kick our asses?
I don't remember what the score is. I think I tried to look it up, and like I guess maybe Concordia would have it, but I looked at Gustavus, and because they did a new website, it kind of like, I think that data, like they got rid of it or something, so I couldn't find it through Gustavus.
I think actually, I remember this now that it's like you kind of jog my memory. I think we were playing on, so like as you walk in the bubble, what's the one to the left, immediately to the left?
Yeah, just court one.
Court one. We were playing on court one, I think.
I think so too. David remembered when he first brought it up. I kind of had to like lie and say I remembered, because I was like, oh, I don't want to be like this cocky guy that's like, oh, I don't remember when we played, but you remember me, like, okay, especially if you the Gustavus Concordia, like I don't want to make anyone feel bad. But then I sort of had more memories. I kind of remembered court one, but like I couldn't remember a point during that match. But also the ITA, like it's kind of a blur for everyone. Like it's like a crazy tournament. Like there's so many matches going on. You're just like, all right, who am I playing? All right, this team, all right, let's go. And like on to the next.
It's more of a blur for you guys though, because you guys have a massive team. Everyone's going far in the tournament.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of like matches stacking up. For us, I mean, usually we got one guy, maybe two people who are participating in the actual like draw, and then you got like one dubs team. So like I would say for us, not a blur at all, because like a lot of people are getting bounced for a second round. So I remember this match, and you guys crushed us, I believe. I think it was Dave and I feel like maybe it was like 8-5, 8-4. Um,
Okay.
Dave and I, do you remember winning?
Like a little bit.
Yeah,
I
I
think
feel
it
like,
was like I remember that ITA with Michael. We played like Whitewater, so I was like pretty in the first round. So I was like super ready for that one. I was like, okay, this is a big one, and I think we lost the one after you guys. So I think maybe that's why like this one was a little bit less in my memory because the
mm,
Whitewater one felt huge, and then we lost the next one. I remember those, but I remember a
yeah,
little bit. I remember. I mean, I remember. I think your kick serve a little bit because it's nasty, as everyone knows. I think that's what I remember the most. But otherwise, like I can't even picture like David hitting a shot or anything like that. Um,
hey, I'll take that. Remember the kick serve and can't remember any of David's shots. I'm taking that. I'm taking that to the bank.
that's what he gets for still not showing up yet. Um,
But
but you're helping out at Concordia too, right?
yeah, I'm a volunteer assistant, and I let the boys know I'm going to be a very extremely volunteer assistant.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. I feel like when you just kind of come and go, it's hard to like just like come and like assert yourself, if that makes sense, and be like,
Yep.
hey, if I'm talking with the number 3 player, 2 or 3 player, his name is Logan Sandberg,
Hmm.
good player from Grand Forks, and I play with him a lot, like quite a bit, but like I don't coach him. Like I play with him. I'm not like telling him like, hey, I think this is, something to do. So,
Hmm.
and if you only show up as a volunteer assistant, once every month or once every like couple weeks, where it's very, very, minimal,
Hmm.
you can't just come in and just like, hey, do this, do this, do this. It's like that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So I think I'll be finding my role, like what I can
Hmm.
what I can do. I mean, the season hasn't started yet, so maybe I'll be doing more than I'm thinking. But yeah, I'm not trying to ramble here, but like I'm super into like tennis media, doing this stuff, like
Yeah.
interviewing different individuals, talking, hearing about like what they're doing, what's happening
Hmm.
in the tennis world. But like recording matches is something that I've gotten into for the
Oh yeah.
last probably like year, because I'm like, hey, this is kind of like a cool market where you're just like showcasing matches, and
Hmm.
like right now it's a lot of me, but I want to do like other people, because like
Hmm.
other people are more interesting. um
Yeah.
so
Would
that's
you
kind of like
do
where I want to go.
would you do any like recording of Concordia matches and just doing that stuff, or
That's the
what do you
plan.
have in mind for others necessarily there?
Yeah, that's the plan. So my plan is to, yeah, link up with Concordia. I mean, that's an easy relationship with David being the head coach. I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
technically, yeah, I'm an assistant coach there. So, yeah, it shouldn't be any problem. What I'll do is try to highlight one of the guys' matches, and try to give them input on their match. And of course, like if they're playing the Scots, your player can go and watch that. I'm not at the scale where I have 6 different cameras, so it's like, okay, like you got to select one. I
Yeah.
like watching good tennis. So if
Yeah.
if if the one singles it's going to be a battle, like that's probably going to be the match that like I want to watch.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
no offense to like 6, 5, 4, but it's just like,
Hmm.
hey, like these guys are dogs. Like I like watching some dogs um play, and that's what interests me. But it doesn't mean that you know we'll dip into like other matchups as well. And then for the women's side, my fiance Alexis is the head coach for the MSUM Dragons
Oh, that's
in
right.
Moorhead,
David said that. Yeah.
and they're pretty solid. I would say they're like middle of the pack for the NSIC,
Hmm.
and their top 3 girls, Luce Mary is their one, or Shaylin Johnson is also kind of their one. They're both pretty good, and then Mimi Gu is their number 3. They're Those 3 players are good tennis
Hmm.
players, like
Nice.
someone who I would go and watch play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a level
Yeah.
where like, I mean, I find it interesting because there's like strategy. When tennis gets to the point where like
Hmm.
they're executing an actual like strategy. It's not
Yeah.
just like getting it back. They're like
Yeah.
actually doing something.
Yep.
That's like super interesting to me. Like, hey, This
Yeah.
person's overcoming something, and yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. That's why, like, I was coaching at Gustavus for 3 years, and obviously that's a high enough level to where strategy is involved. And then I haven't been coaching the last couple of years, and people are like, "Oh, like yeah, I thought you really liked coaching. Maybe you should just work at Lifetime, do some coaching there." And it's like, like who am I working with? Like private lessons, you don't really work within matches where you can't help with the strategy as much. You can kind of develop the shots a little bit, but it's not like the strategy stuff. I think we're very much on the same page. Like that's super fascinating to me, and like figuring out like for this matchup what needs to be done by the player. Do they what tools do they have to execute that? Like that's why college tennis I think is awesome, because wherever you are, you should definitely be strategy is a big thing. So I never just got into like Lifetime coaching or other stuff, but now glad to be back in the coaching atmosphere and getting that going and using that part of my brain again, because it was a lot of fun. It's I don't know, I, we're on the same page there. It's just cool and we both love tennis, and cool to strategize and so many different things. I feel like I've seen all the clips that you post too, and I see the different stuff that you do. And I think today you posted you like the points that you mix in different shots and stuff like that. So I like players that can do a wide range of stuff, gives you options as a coach to game plan and strategize too. So it's a lot of fun, and Macalester kids, looking forward to getting going with them.
Yeah. Let's pause one second. Let's take a live call, David. Yo, what's up?
Hey there. Are you on with Chase right now?
Yeah, I am.
I totally forgot. I can potentially join in like 2 minutes here. Unless, do you just want to do it?
No, come on, dude. You got to come on.
Okay, bye.
All right. Classic. We love that.
Didn't you guys have like penalties and stuff for like coming in late or coming in your car? And like I feel like they were all kind of pointed at David a little bit, but
yeah, I mean, see, like this is what I love. Like I love just the raw, just I don't know, like why not show like, hey, the background, like we're just like scrambling together, like I don't know, like we're not professional like network or anything like that. We're just like two dudes. Dave and I like to do interviews and stuff like that, and I don't know, we like to talk to people who we want to talk to, but we're both very unique individuals, kind of I don't know, kind of weird in our own ways, but yeah, I don't know, makes for good entertainment. And,
yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of people like sometimes like if it's like too professional and stuff, like I don't love that as much. Like, and I think a lot of people don't love that as much. Like just listening, it's like it's just interesting hearing people talk, and like even if it doesn't need to be the crazy professional, like you're just interested in their thoughts, and yeah, I think it's cool to get a little behind the scenes stuff or whatever. It's funny, I always like to go for a little humor whenever I can. So like, and some of that stuff in is always good, I think.
Yeah. And if David watches this through, like, it's all for friendship. You know what I mean? Like it's truly like, that's why we can do this, because we're like all like really good buds. I'm not doing this to like any random people. Like we'll have good banter and stuff, but like I love David, and I love like, so this year what we're doing for our group is like a fantasy league, just like a makeshift fantasy league, and what you're referencing for like point deductions. We'll try to introduce that. I got to get everyone on the same page. Like Matt Hokinson, like he's part of the group. He works till like 9. He's a tennis instructor, tennis pro. So you can't, like, it's hard to accommodate that. Like I don't want to record at 9 p.m. Like I'm gonna be dog tired. You just can't bring the energy. I've noticed. So it's like, all right, maybe you can't have a deduction rule when one guy like is gonna make very few, shows. But yeah,
you guys
if David calls in from calling in the car, then he will get a deduction for sure.
If he does that, that'd be crazy. He would really have had to leave his like tournament that he's helping run. I don't know. He would have felt really self-conscious and couldn't just hop in a room and had to go to the car. But yeah, you guys picked. Hey, there he is, Coach Youngs.
Coach Johnson, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for joining.
Apologies for my tardiness. I'm actually working the North Dakota Adult Championships here. So I'm sitting in North Dakota tennis legend Jerry Caulfield's office. Myself and former Cobber coach and Courts Plus Pro Zach Sitter just cleaned it out. A lot of old tennis balls. It's under a stairwell.
I love it. We were chatting about and do you remember this match, Dave, when you and me played Chase and Michael
O'Neill?
Yeah, that was freshman year ITAs. I think we had beaten a St. Mary's team in the first round, then we drew you guys, and I think you got us 8-3. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
We don't
remember it. I guess
I remember.
I guess 8-3 before.
I think you remember the most, David, because Isaac and I didn't remember that much.
I remember. Felt good after that first dub, and then we're playing a strong, gusty team. I'd played Mike before we played in juniors growing up, and obviously a good player, and came in optimistic. Did not get the result that we wanted. But we were grateful for the opportunity to compete.
Yeah.
But Chase, I want to be the first fellow MIAC coach to welcome you to the conference, man. We're excited. Obviously, you're the competition. But as much as we want to win, as much as you want to win, in all sincerity, we all do better when we have more good people in this conference. And so we're thrilled to have you, brother.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be in the MIAC again. Feels cool to be repping a different program. You're repping your alma mater, which is awesome, and a lot of people do that. Feels different, but it feels cool in a different way. So happy to be here.
My first question for you, Chase, as a prospective student, would you have gotten accepted into Macalester?
That's a good question. I think I would have been a no.
Maybe a
slight
midterm
no.
grades, maybe a defer. Maybe let's see that.
Yeah, I think if I talked to the coach, I think we would have needed the coach to talk to admissions and say, hey, if you can help this guy, he's borderline, but he could be a good asset for us. I think that might be the thing that would get me in. But I think just on academics, I don't think I would have gotten in right away. It wasn't a slouch, but Macalester's pretty dang good. So I don't know. That's a good first question though.
Well, I mean, I bring it up because for you, obviously a big part of our roles is recruitment. Players can certainly improve their freshman year through their senior year, but you got to have good players on your team starting at the forefront. Macalester is when it comes to the U.S. News World Rankings for top liberal arts colleges, it's a top 10, top 15 school pretty much every year. Mm-hmm. How do you view that? When you look at that, how is that going to be an asset for you when you're recruiting? Because obviously we know there's a correlation between smart kids and tennis players.
Yeah, I think, definitely, I think it's a huge asset, and one of the reasons I was interested in taking over at Macalester is I think that can help sell to a lot of potential players. I as you mentioned, I think a lot of tennis players really lean towards highly academic schools. I think there's a lot of smart tennis players in the world and smart tennis players coming up. And it's also a very international sport. So you can draw from all over the place. And, I think it'll just help get a lot of looks. And for sure, there will be players where, unfortunately, they're not good enough academically or close to get in. And so that's going to be a downside too. There's a lot of other schools, maybe big universities, or they're just letting everyone in, which can be good, but maybe for athletics. But I think it's definitely using that, and it'll draw enough good talent that from there we can filter down. You don't need a ton of players. This isn't the football team where you got to be getting 20 plus, 20 to 30 for each recruiting class or whatever. You only really need a couple per recruiting class. So I think that's pretty doable when it is, that good of an academic school. I think you can make that work.
Yeah, I mean, going off of that, obviously you're familiar with the conference, with the MIAC. You won a few
Mm-hmm.
titles back in your day. What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge?
For me personally, or for just kind of the team?
I mean, you can answer how you'd like, but I bring it up because I'm curious. We're in a very unique spot in the MIAC right now, where we've got obviously Gustavus is exceptional. Carleton's got a very good team, but in addition to that, I mean, the field's open.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest challenge is going to be at least getting used to being a head coach, and honestly getting better myself to help get better players, talk to better players than maybe Macalester's had in the past, and kind of hoping to change the culture a little bit. I think there's already a good culture set at Macalester for sure. Not going to be a huge spice up, but adding a little bit of my own personal spices there, and doing what I think is right, and can help improve. But yeah, I think honestly, being in maybe Minnesota, a cold state, a lot of indoor tennis for every program in the MIAC, and facilities are a big kind of deal breaker issue for a lot of potential student athletes here. So, I think getting facilities set too is kind of a big issue, and that's of course more long term. But that's pretty important to the program and help building it. It's no surprise Gustavus is as good as they are when they have a bubble on campus that players can just walk to and play for free every single day. And I know for a fact they took advantage of that when I was there, and they still do basically. So that's a huge advantage for Gustavus in the conference over everybody else. I'd be really curious if everyone else had that same ability, how much better all the teams could be. Because I'm sure you have kids on your team that love playing tennis, and I know some of them are able to hit for free through work and stuff, but a lot of other stuff takes time. They got to get over to the courts and whatnot. They can't just walk on campus. So that's maybe the biggest difficulty. And I'd be curious how much better we all could be if you plopped a bubble on everyone's campus, and everyone could hit for free.
I mean, yeah, facilities talk. They really do. But fellas, I got to get back to the tournament desk here. We've got a 8 p.m. round of matches to send out. But I want to end with this, Chase. Then I'll let you and Isaac continue the conversation. In 30 seconds, how would you describe your coaching philosophy? Obviously, you've been a part of a great program, and we're products for our environment. But how would you describe your philosophy?
Yeah, it's going to be heavily Gustavus related. I like, defining success based on how we handle things within our control for that day, for that practice, for that match. We're going to have a positive attitude. We're going to give our full effort. We're going to be good sports, extra important in tennis when you make your own line calls. But also we're going to be as competitive as possible. We're not going to be, we're just out here to have fun and be positive and smile. But like, we're going to be competitive as heck. And, I want you to go out there, with an expectation that winning is what you think is going to happen when you step out on the court. So I think just adding in that competitiveness to a little bit of that stuff is kind of a main focus of mine.
Josh and Riley.
Well, we'll see about that when you come up to the Cobber Tennis Complex next fall. But Chase, all jokes aside, we're thrilled to have you, man. Thrilled to have you in the brotherhood of wonderful coaches in this conference. I'll let you continue, but I got to send out some men's doubles.
Awesome. Thanks, David.
See you, Dave. Yeah, thank you. All right. So one question I did have to piggyback off that is, what situation are you walking into right now? Like, is Macalester, like, are they top 3, middle 3, bottom 3? Last year, and like what do you have a couple freshmen? Like, what are you walking into here?
Yeah, we have. It's hard to say. I think about middle 3 probably for both programs right now. I think playoffs is a good goal for both teams. And for the women's side, we don't have. I think we only have a couple seniors. The men's side, we have about half the team is seniors this year. So we're really gonna have to lock in some recruits here. So heavily senior, which I think could be very good for. It can be helpful for the men's with strong upperclassmen and leadership there when one coach resigns in middle to late December and you get another coach that starts on January 21st or whatever, a week before the season starts. I think that's really challenging for them too. So I think the strong leadership with some upperclassmen, and I know there's a couple of strong leaders who are juniors on the women's team. So I think I'm walking into a program with good leaders and good upperclassmen. It's not too young. So they'll be really helpful to me, and that way I can be the most helpful for them. But yeah, we're looking at we'll be losing a lot of seniors on the men's team, so we'll definitely have to get a couple recruits there. We got about 8 men and 9 women right now, so I don't know what Concordia typically was. I'm so out of. Gustavus men was like 16 was the smallest team, and it's been up to like 22, 24 when I was there. So like I don't know what even a typical MyX school is.
Yeah. I would say it's what your practice can support at the courts that you can get.
That makes sense, yeah.
So normally for us, I think we had like 10 guys, but like a couple guys just like didn't really come. Like they were kind of just like on the team. And then they like occasionally play too. But I mean, we only could get like 2 courts. You can only have, you can only have so many practice where you're doing a line and like hitting.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do some playing.
Yeah.
And some doubles play as well. If there's like 2 people that are just extra there, it just doesn't really work.
Yeah.
So I would say like 10 max would be.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd have to like do 2 different practice times.
Yeah.
So you're coaching both the men and the women?
Yeah, I am. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, both. It's a school where Ted before me was doing both, and Jason before that I think did both for a long time. So I think it's kind of always been the dual program, kind of one program but separate still. I think that's fairly common for Division III. Very, very common. A lot of double headers for us this season, which will be super interesting to me. The Gustavus men's and women's team are very, very separate, different coaches. So no overlap, no double headers where both the men's and women's team are going up to Concordia to play. It's totally different. We barely saw them play. They barely saw us play. Took turns, with the bubble and stuff. So. I come from a very different way of doing things, but not necessarily better. So I'm really curious how this is going to go. How much overlap have you guys had with the women's team? Was it pretty separated, or was it
Yeah, and that's kind of the balance. I think that's super important as a coach like you going into your role, that like it's important to have like a good relationship between both teams.
Yeah,
like it almost like hypes the other team up just to like have the other team be like cheerleaders more or less. Like if you're like the guy team is cheering for the women's team, hyping them up, supporting them, that can be through different ways, is a good thing. It's not always like that though. Like during my 4 years, I would say it was like sometimes good, sometimes bad. But yeah, I don't know. It's like a very interesting relationship. So I think when it is good, it's good. You know what I mean? Like it's good. So if your team like vibes really well with the female team, or if your teams vibe well with each other, I should say, then like that's good. I don't know, symmetry, or I don't know what the word
synergy.
Yeah. Let's go. Hey, for the record, I would not have gotten into Macalester with any coach help either. So I'm making that clear.
Yeah, I think it's like crazy tough. One of my best friends from high school went to Macalester, so I think we were similar as students. He was definitely a little bit better. So the fact that he got in, I'm putting myself close. But yeah, it's I'm curious to see both the positive and negative impacts that the school and the academics can have on recruiting. Asking around other coaches, I think for the most part, it's been good, but they say, Macalester will, you get a certain type of recruits that kind of look at you anyways from the start. So I can imagine it might be a little different than who I was talking to at Gustavus. But we'll see. You can always get, I don't know, you can always find people who are very good students and also super competitive athletes, and at the same time it's not always just you're either a good student or a good athlete. You can do a lot of both. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. Going back to the men's and women's team, you got any tips for me to keep the synergy good, keep the vibes going between the teams?
I would say like good. I mean, just like have some sort of dual practice, like somewhat, frequently, every other week, every week, whatever it is. I think that's a good idea. And just like any opportunity where you're playing at the same place at the same time, if that happens, like make sure that they're watching. Just supporting that. I would say those are the two big things. But if like you have 7 individuals on one team and 8 individuals on the other team, like maybe they just won't vibe. You know what I mean? Like that could very well be the case too. But tennis is like the commonality. I feel like tennis people like vibe with tennis people, if that makes sense.
I agree. That I'm the first thing too about dual practices is I do plan on doing that. So that's good to hear. I haven't heard anything about the teams, but hopefully those dual practice or whatever, we're gonna overlap for a chunk of time for like an hour. So hopefully that helps out.
And you got the so it's not like a full-time, or it's not, I shouldn't say not full-time, it's not like concrete position, it's only for like 1 year interim.
Correct. It's an interim, so they're it's through basically May, end of May, and then from there, their wording is then we're gonna look to hire a full-time coach. Of course, I can throw my name in that hat, and I would like my chances if I do a good job. I think they're not. I think both of our hopes is that I like it there and I do a good job and we can keep rolling. You never know. I was trying to think of like who, like, because they have to post the application. I think like I'm trying to think of like who would apply where they'd be like, oh, like like I was like, oh, if like Eric Buderak was like, yep, I'll take over. Like I wouldn't blame them if they're like, yeah, Eric Buderak, you can be the head coach. Like I was trying to be like, all right, so if I did want it, who would they take over me for sure? And how do I make sure they don't apply? But I don't know who else, would be applying, but it's an interim through May. So.
That could happen. That definitely could happen. But like you're in your contract year right now. Like
no.
If you do well, I feel like a normal person would be like, hey, like vibes are good, like good impact. Hey, we don't have to test the waters with some random new person after 1 year. It's not like you're not playing D1 tennis. So like, I mean, I guess like Buderak would be one exception maybe, right? Where he's like just a different level of like maybe like intellect. Like he's been on a TED Talk. He has his own TED Talk. Like that's pretty cool. And he's been a pro tennis player coming from D3. But if you just had some like crazy, D1, University of, Southern California, USC, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that like would really like vibe with those guys. You know what I mean? It's just totally different.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. The contract here, that's funny though. And I do think though a lot of, I don't know if it's like recently this has been happening, but I feel like for coaching, I mean, maybe this is more professionals, but like they're getting like younger. You're hiring the Brandon Fell, the Sean McVays, the Kevin O'Connells, Matt LaFleur's. Like you're hiring some of those young guys because if they turn out good, then it's like, all right, might have him here for a long time. I know Pete Carroll just got hired, but that's a little bit more of an exception almost. A lot of teams go younger. And I don't know if that's a thing in coaching too, of like, hey, this guy's young too. Like, David's young, and, he loves Concordia as much as anyone I've met. So like, if they can be like, hey, this guy seems like a long-term guy, especially with given how young he is, like, that's awesome. So I wonder if that, at some point that could be an advantageous for me, of like, he's young, motivated, like ready to go. There's a lot of pretty young coaches at Macalester too. I think they hired another person for track and field who's my age. So I'm a year younger than you, in between you and David. So like, it's not a crazy old, office or athletic department when I'm walking through the halls saying hi to coaches. It's pretty young in general. So I hope at least that's what I'm telling myself, that it'll help me out a little. My enthusiasm and stuff, my energy can be good. So we'll see when the time gets there, but hopefully I like it. Hopefully they like me, and we can keep it rolling, sign the new contract, and keep it going for a full year next year. I missed my opportunity to play David because the teams played in the fall, which is funny. I was at that match because I knew he was playing at Macalester, so I was like, oh, I'll support him, get down to Macalester and watch that match. So I would have to wait until the fall to play him again potentially, but happy to walk into a program that's 1-0 in the conference right now for men and women. That feels pretty good. So
wait, you have just one match in the fall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And that is a conference match that counts for your conference?
Yeah. You can do them in the fall. I think you can do them whenever. So yeah, the Concordia Macalester was just the conference match, and we snuck out both of them. Happy that we did. I think that might be pretty impactful for playoffs and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I'll miss not getting able to play David this spring. I think that would have been a blast, but have to wait a little bit longer, assuming all goes well and I'm still here, still around next year.
Yeah. And we're kind of going in like reverse order a little bit, just because like I'm a bit thrown off by like the sequence of things, but kind of going back to the beginning, you grew up is in like you played for Hopkins.
Yep.
So like, tell me your story there. What did you start playing like varsity as like a 7th grader, like phenom, or did you kind of get into it a little bit later? Or
I was definitely a little bit later. I played a lot of sports growing up, and I was pretty big into baseball too. So I played the first year I made varsity for tennis was 9th grade. I mainly just did summer camps and stuff. Didn't really play year round at all. But just I would play like basketball, travel basketball, and in the winter, and baseball in the summer, and tennis kind of here and there. I remember I made varsity in 9th grade for the first time. And I also was playing like travel baseball. And that was just like a crazy spring where I was like, okay, like I have to pick one. And so just because I was already on varsity for tennis, I was like, okay, I'll do this one. And so from there, I kind of started playing in the off season. And that's when I really kind of started to jump up a little. I started at a small, Williston Fitness Center in Minnetonka, Minnesota. Not a ton of like fabulous players. It wasn't a Lifetime. It's kind of more of a random fitness club that has some tennis courts. But they still had good coaches. It was fun there. And then my big jump off was when I joined Kevin Whipple's group, who played doubles with Eric Buderak in college. And he was an awesome coach, is an awesome coach, and he helped out a lot. And I went there too when I would come back in the summers from Gustavus. I would still hit in his group in the summers, and it was awesome. But I didn't really start playing year round until probably, sophomore year. I didn't play one singles until my senior year. We had two players who definitely were more of the phenoms growing up. They were the made 7th grade varsity. They were super good. One went to Case Western, one went to Eau Claire. So those guys were ahead of me. I was really don't think I was anything special in high school. I was just kind of a guy, I felt like, and not heavily recruited, and not I think I was a 2-star, which is a lot of 2-stars out there, and the range of 2-stars can be very solid with potential, or like they played a couple tournaments. Like the 2-star range can be pretty wide, I think, but wasn't huge into tennis until later in my high school years, but I loved it ever since. And I mean, I played so much when I was at Gustavus. I played like every single day. Like I would just walk to the bubble, play every day. So, but I think it was awesome to play a bunch of sports growing up. Just keeps you busy, keeps your mind active in different ways, keeps your body active in different ways. So I definitely like to hear when people and potential student athletes do play some other sports in their off season or whatever. Because I know you were multi-sport guy, right? What else did you do?
Yeah, I did football in high school, and then I was a basketball player along with tennis. So did the 3 sports, and I really like that. Like that was a good mix. I would say, I mean, looking back on it now, like football's a pretty brutal sport. I like dislocated my shoulder, so it like I don't know, just like it's a weird feeling now, like looking back on it and like how brutal. I got 1 concussion as well. Maybe that'd be the one sport where I wouldn't do because of the injury, simply because of the injury. But basketball was awesome. Tennis was awesome. Did you play anything else besides baseball and then tennis when you switched over?
Yeah, I through high school I still would play actually baseball and basketball. Basketball was it was just like 9th to 12th grade was more of like a rec league. So we had some Hopkins teams, we had some Edina teams, some Minnetonka teams, I think some Wayzata teams. It was just kind of a rec league, but I still would play that every winter, and that was a blast. And then baseball, I would play like senior Babe Ruth. If I don't know if that makes it up to Fargo Moorhead area, but that was kind of a rec league too. Like still good players, but like I still just enjoyed the sports. So I did those in the winter and summer still, all the way through. I guess I did after my senior year, but through until my senior year, basically. So I definitely played those sports and enjoyed them very much. I golf too. I like golfing in the summer when I could. I did a lot in kind of middle school or 6th, 7th, 8th grade. I did a lot. Mom would drop me and a couple friends off, and we get a quick 9 or 18 in. That was a blast. That's kind of my 4th sport. But yeah, anything I enjoy playing. But yeah, I played basketball and baseball basically through high school and enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, more rec leagues. Obviously you were playing a little bit more high level, and I wasn't going to get injured playing baseball really, or the rec league basketball. So I'm fortunate about that, but it was a lot of fun. And yeah, I can't imagine playing varsity football, varsity basketball for you. That's a lot more bruises on the body and stuff like that. Did you do anything at Concordia? Did you do anything else besides tennis? Like, did you do intramural basketball at all or anything? Or
No. Oh, I didn't do intramural basketball. I got a pretty good story about that.
Okay. Yeah.
One thing before I forget, because I know I will forget this before I get into my intramural basketball story. Manfred Barrios. I played Manfred Barrios, who played at Hopkins, who you were talking about, who went to Case Western.
Yes.
At the state tournament in my senior year. I lost to him in the quarters.
Were you Red Wing? Is that where you're from?
Yep, Red Wing.
Okay.
And we were in a 3rd set, and I think he beat me 6-4 in that 3rd set. I was so nervous in that match. Knees were knocking so hard in that match. I had no like will, if that makes sense. Like Djokovic has like that willpower.
Yeah.
I had no willpower in that match.
Dude, he's an intimidating guy.
Yeah, he's
I was like scared of him throughout high school. Like
he's super good player. But he was also pretty nervous. I remember him like missing some balls where it's like, all right, like it's state tournament time. Like everyone really wants to advance. Yeah. And like like for me, I get a decent draw where like no offense to Manfred, but like he's not, one of those top guys in state. Like he's one of the top, but like in the quarterfinals, like I'm glad I drew him.
Yeah.
Drew
I mean,
him.
you could have gotten, I don't know, Dusty was still around at that time, or Toby. Yeah. God.
So we were playing to play Toby in that next round, and I wanted a piece of Toby so bad. I wanted a piece of Toby. I would have probably lost, but I've been talking a little bit of smack to Toby recently. I put it on the story like, hey, like who would win in this match? Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm gonna upset the world. Maybe a 16 seed versus the 1 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, dude. Seriously, you never know. I mean, you guys have never played, so we can't say definitively, who would win.
But yeah, so played intramural basketball at Concordia, and I dislocated my shoulder as I just talked about in football. Junior year, like just ripped it out of its socket. Did it my senior year as well, so second time. And then if you dislocate your shoulder, it's gonna just keep on happening. So freshman year at Concordia, I'm playing intramural basketball, go up for a rebound, and like someone just like pushes it down, so arm pops out. It's like dangling there. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then like it's the third time it's happened, so it's like it's not a shock to me that it's out. It's like if it's the first time, you're in shock. Like you're like, oh my gosh, like my shoulder's out, like it's out of its socket. Like, oh my gosh. So I'm just sitting there, but it's like out, like it's just out, just dangling there, like just dangling, like it can't move it at all. And like, well, it's not going back in, and I didn't want to like push it back in to like make it worse. So get taken to the ER by the football coach there, who was like buddies with my dad. He like brings me to the ER. We're like standing in line. The ER's packed. There's so many people in the ER. It's the only experience I've ever been to the ER. Like, we're just like waiting there. Like we kind of like look at each other, and just like my arm just like slips back in. Like, all right, let's get out of here. And like a nurse like slid us like a brace. Like we didn't have to pay for the brace. I just like walked out with the brace. But so of course I dislocate my shoulder, so it's going to be inflamed a little bit. So I go into the tennis coach's office the next day and like, coach, I just dislocated my shoulder. Like it's pretty bad. Like he was so mad at me. He was so angry. And we played Hamlin that weekend, and then we played Macalester.
Oh, this was like during the season.
We played Hamlin, and this happened. Intramurals was on Thursday. We played them on Saturday and Sunday, right? I think we played Macalester Saturday, Hamlin Sunday. So I played who was it? It wasn't Josh Doyle. It was
Hochberger?
No, it was Brian Utz.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Was it Brian Utz? I don't want to butcher this because I don't want to throw him under the bus if this wasn't him.
I don't remember before Josh Doyle. So I know Brian played at Macalester.
I think it was Brian. But so I played, I'm like, whatever, it's tennis, right? Like what can happen? Like I can't lift my arm like that. I literally couldn't lift my arm. So I was like doing like this, just like flicking it up, and like I was hitting underhand serves, and I just wouldn't hit a backhand. I would hit a one-handed like just like flick like this, kind of just like rose it up, and I would just run around and hit my forehands and just like tree the whole match. and I won.
Come on.
I won against the guy because I think he was so like mentally like just like taken back. Like he's like, okay, so clearly this guy's hurt. He's underhand like an idiot, like barely can serve it. Like so he's trying to like attack it, but like it's not working. So I think it just like it kind of just like collapsed. Yeah. I don't know what happened, but yeah.
No way. That's funny, dude.
For like dubs though, no reaction. Like lost both dubs matches. Like you can't play
because they can just kind of like get it around you, come to the net or something. Like they can just put so much more pressure on you. Yeah,
So
dude, was it painful when you were playing, or could you not use it enough where it kind of was fine? Or you take enough pain?
yeah,
Like
I think it was just kind of like numb. Like it was just like, all right, like it's not like it doesn't hurt when it's out. It's just like kind of like hurts when you like try to like move it around.
Okay.
But like once it's in, it's just like weak. I don't know. Like you just can't like move it. It's like inflamed around it. So you're like you just like running like with it like a little bit dangled, like isn't gonna hurt it, but it's just like it's not like you can't move it. I don't know. Like it's
yeah. Okay. Was it fine by like the next week? Like for
yeah, I would say
matches?
like so the more you dislocate your shoulders, it's funny that I know this, but like the faster you get back into action. So like if you dislocate your shoulder like your 7th, 8th time, like you might just dislocate it at night, like just slips out, slips back in, and you're like good the next day. It doesn't really, but like the more you like if you don't get surgery on it, it's just gonna keep on going out. Like it's gonna happen. Like the PT guys, like it's like a 99% chance. Like you're gonna dislocate it again if you don't get surgery. But you can like try to build up the muscles around it. I don't know. Like yeah.
But it's not. How many times has it happened since for you?
I got surgery after the 3rd time.
Oh, you did? Okay,
yeah. So that intramural basketball incident happened, and then after the tennis season, I got surgery, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're good with that.
Yeah.
Maybe your coach, you didn't want to have your coach yell at you ever again. So you're like,
no.
all right, well, coach, I'm getting surgery. We're fixing that up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. That's a good story. I can't to win is like sweet. I wish they could like count that as like any bonus points for like all conference stuff. Like, hey man, give him like twice whatever because he's injured here. He's like was serving underhand. Like that's funny. Yeah, I couldn't. Was that at home for you guys or?
No, that was we traveled down to that was at the Lifetime Fitness, I believe, in Lakeville. If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken, but I believe it was there.
Okay, that's the bus ride back to campus. If you're that guy, like your team like saw you lose. Like everyone there saw you surfing underhand. So like I don't know. I mean, I'm sure as like that was one singles, right? Like I'm sure as at one singles, like you still have that team aura. Like, hey, I'm the big dog here, but like, dude, if I saw my teammate like I'm battling and it's like your dude's playing underhand, like come on, man, like we need this win. Like, what do you like? Come on, like I feel like there'd be a little like, bro, like you lost doing underhands, or like come on, man. So I wonder. I'm curious what that was like. If anyone gave him crap, if anyone or how long they waited until they gave him a little crap or something. I'm curious to hear the other side of the story. It's a great story from you. I wonder what Brian or whoever you maybe did play. Like I wonder what their side is. But that's funny. That's a good one. I did not know that. That's awesome.
I mean, hopefully I'm not being insensitive when I say this, but I don't know if you've seen that like D1 hooper who has like one arm. And
yeah.
Buddy, he like crosses up people.
Yes, dude.
Hard. Like you have to be like after the game, like if he crosses it up, you got to be like reflecting, like, dude, why did I go that way? Dude, he can't go that way.
Yeah, I feel like you can. That one's maybe a little different if you can be like, dude, like I've never played someone like that. I never will play someone like that again. So like you wouldn't know how to defend him really. Like everything you're used to would be a little different. But yeah, like he has some highlights every once in a while. Sports Center tosses him up, so that would be pretty nuts if you're like, if that's like one of your boys, like who's like, dude, was that you in this? Like, did you get crossed up here? Like he did a little in and out. Like, why did you think he was actually going left? Like, how did you get fooled there? Like, yeah, dude, that guy. Yeah, he has some cool highlights too. Like it's like legit plays. Like, it's cool that he's out there like and loves basketball. But yeah, dude, that I want same same type of thing. You see the highlights, but give me the story of the guy that got crossed or was sort of dunked on or whatever the highlight was. Yeah. Give me those stories too.
Yeah. And then so you went on to Gustavus, and then from my memory, you just like incrementally improved. You just got better and better and better. You became an All-American, I believe in dubs, or correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, super, super high quality player. For Gustavus, for me, I was always impressed with the 6 individuals who were like in the main lineup. Like, hey, these are the 6 like guys at Gustavus. Those were like the best 6 guys in my brain, and like, the elite players of the MIAC. And you were one of those guys. Did you play in the top 6 all 4 years?
Just the last 3. First
Okay.
year I was 7, 8 singles and kind of four doubles usually. But then sophomore year it was 2 doubles and 5 singles. Junior year was about the same, and then senior year we graduated Mohamed, Zach Eckstein, Tommy Entwistle. So that kind of slid me up by default in a way. But yeah, not in their first year. That's a we do have first years come in, but that I wasn't that level. As a little 2-star recruit, I wasn't good enough to jump in right away.
That's crazy, the level though, that like a 2-star, because a 2-star at Concordia does jump in. They're probably the 1 singles, which is just like crazy, the level difference. And like also the experiences too. Like I feel like by being just an elite team, you get certain experiences that, a middle of the road MIAC team, or lower third like Concordia, when I was there, you just don't get, so it's kind of cool to be on, a roster that like gets to experience like national attention, and like getting to perform for your school and have All-Americans. Like that's a super cool thing. And you talked about this a little bit earlier, but just walking it's on your campus, the bubble, and just going over there and playing. How, like, did you get just insanely better because you're just like always playing, or do you think it was like the instruction at Gustavus that you just developed a higher talent that way? Or do you think it was more like self-driven, or like the coaching there?
Yeah, I think the coaching was really important for doubles. I really like the way that we play doubles at Gustavus. I guess specifically the men's side, I think we play really aggressive doubles. It makes a lot of sense to me. So, that instruction was huge for, I was not an All-American singles player, but I was an All-American doubles player. And a lot of that is teaching you how to play doubles in a way that's, almost similar to the pros, where you're trying to move and take a lot of balls out the middle. So for sure, instruction was huge for doubles. Of course, helpful for singles too. But I think for singles, the ability to just play every single day was probably the most important thing. I like to think I was a decently good self-coach on what I needed to work on in the off season. I was self-aware enough to try and work on those things, but and also just the depth that our team had of playing. I could play so many different types of players. And I could, if I wanted to really work on something, I could maybe play somebody who was lower in the lineup, and I could still work on stuff, and we can have a good match that way, because I'm just I'm spraying my forehand a little bit more, but I'm trying to hit bigger forehand, so I'm going for it more. If I want to just get a really good practice match in, I can easily play a Zach Eckstein and see if I can beat him. I don't remember ever beating him, so it was really helpful that way too, and getting so many different singles players to hit with. And being able to do that literally every single day. Like I 6 days in the off season, I think I would take Sunday off, but I'd play 6 days. So just the amount of tennis that you could play was huge for singles. And doubles was a lot of instruction, and we did a lot of drilling during the season. So that was a lot of repetitions there, but, so doubles more so coaches, and I think singles more so just the bubble, and the ability to play for free every single day.
Mm-hmm. How did you guys like decide your guys' lineup? Like, obviously like your top 6, like, did you guys have like some sort of a challenge, set format? Did you guys go by UTR? I'm curious kind of on how that works for you. Like you mentioned, like you had 24 guys when you were there, or maybe like 16 guys. Gustavus is known to have just really, really good tennis. You know, you have TLC during the summer, so it just kind of like feeds this tennis beast that Gustavus is. And I mean, I have to imagine there's some pretty, you know, normal, or I would say like competitive matches to try to like get into the lineup, and also like 4 spots. And also a little bit of drama. I can only imagine. How did you guys decide like your guys' spots?
Yeah, one thing that's I think unique to Gustavus is there's no official practice like challenge matches. So it's not like my freshman year when I was 7-8 for most of the year. It's not like, I was having challenge matches against our 6th guy and just coming up short and not able to beat him. That's we never do it like that. The reason kind of is guys can play very differently when they're playing their teammates in practice and compared to Saturday when they're playing whoever team they're playing, or I should say girls too. Just players are very different playing teammates versus playing other teams. So we really would take into account matches against other teams. Any type of outside competition, we really would take that strongly into account and wouldn't too much take any results at practice. We would play each other usually once a week. We'd play a couple of sets against a teammate, and that was more so just to work on your in between points routine or anything you want to work on. But like we're not results based in that way. So like you're free to do to keep working on your forehand, or keep trying to work on getting in and volley a little bit more. You can do that still. So a lot of it would stem from some of the fall stuff, how you did in the fall ITA. We would go to a Drake Invitational, so there'd be a couple other Division I teams. I remember seeing, I think, Matt Hokinson a year or two there, and with like North Dakota and Creighton and Drake. Drake didn't really play many of their top guys. They maybe play a couple of their lower guys, but like we took that into account, before setting the lineup for the spring. Of course, you take into account the results of last season and where people were, and also maybe a little bit of the eye test. I know my sophomore year, I was 5 singles and Tommy Etmisel was 4 singles. And then the next year at the start of the spring, I was 4 and Tommy was 6. And we had Yassine Durbani, who played 6th year before. He jumped ahead of Tommy too and was 5. So I think a little bit of eye test, or maybe our head coach, Tommy Valentini, thought maybe Yassine and I had moved a little ahead of Tommy and adjusted that way. I think maybe I did a little bit better in the ITA singles. I think I made the semis before losing to Mohamed. Funny little story about that is playing Mohamed, I won the first set like 6-1. And I remember like some teammates coming back, they just like were grabbing lunch, they were done. It was like Sunday, they were just grabbing food. And I could then, Mo broke me probably right away, or whatever. He got up like 3-0, and they were confused why it wasn't 6-1, 3-0. Like they were like, I could kind of be like, could tell even teammates were like, oh, weird. Like, oh, Chase won that first set. Like, and then, I lost like 1-6, 1-6. So it was like 1-6, 6-1, 6-1 for him. But like, I think that was the only set he lost to. That was when he won nationals too, the fall nationals. So I was like, tooting my own horn. We're like, I got a set against him. Woo. But like, I guess to bring it back, like, yeah, I think I made the semis and Tommy maybe lost a round or two before. So maybe that got taken into thought too. But it's a lot of just what you do against other teams and other players. So what did you guys think of, I think you guys did challenge matches. Like what are your kind of thoughts on that? Like, I'm always curious to hear what people's thoughts are, because I know it can be important, and like you can't always, like, if you got a freshman and you have no outside matches, really, you can't always just I think you're about 3 or 2 or 6. Like what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, we didn't do challenge matches
Okay.
actually. I think our coach kind of, because we had two different coaches. I had Coach Futchko the first 2 years, and then Coach Murray the second 2 years. So two different guys, two way different coaches, completely the most different coaches possibly that you could have, for better or for worse. But yeah, like there wasn't I mean there wasn't really any beef, and I would have remembered that for sure. The only year that there was a little lineup beef was the first year that Coach Murray took over, his first, it would have been my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, this might have been my senior year. Year doesn't matter, but there was some rule in the MIAC that if the two had a better record than the one, they would have to move up after like 10 matches.
Yeah. Yep.
So Murray wanted to like strategically put me at 2. So when that happened, I would go up to 1. I'm like, no, like I want to play 1. Like I don't want to play 2. Like just put me at 1. I want to play the best people.
Weren't you 1 like the year before?
I was 1 for the previous 3 years.
Who would have
like,
who would have been 1?
It would have been Eric Porter.
Okay.
And he was a good too, like because like at that time I played someone like insane, like someone who had an insane 1, and I got beat, and he played the 2, and they weren't as good. So he like it was like he was 2-1, and I was like 1-2 or something like that. And Murray's like, hey, like I'm gonna put you at 2, so like when this 10 rule thing happens, you don't get like bumped to 2 for the rest of the year. I'm like, no, just let me prove it. Let me prove it over the next like eight matches.
Yeah.
Like that was the only lineup dispute that I remember. But I mean, he took it into consideration. Like he flipped it. Like he allowed me to do what I wanted to do. And it ended up working out.
Did you guys usually have like there was a top 6 and it was pretty clear who those 6 were? Because like
it was always super clear.
Okay, the big like when it's 6 versus 7 for singles, or when you're like 3 doubles and 4 doubles, and maybe you could switch. Like that's where the it could be the most toxic, I think. So I mean, it can be really helpful if there's like everyone knows there's like a cutoff, which it's happened for you guys for most years. I think for when I was a player that we kind of had that too, which I think helped a lot. Weirdly, like you can't really control that as a coach, but I feel like that helps a lot. If there's just enough of a cut where it's like, these are our guys.
Yeah. And it's weird, like some divisions like D1, they like go by UTR. Like that's how they decide their lineup. I know like Tom Wynn back when Matt played there, up at UND, they went by UTR for their lineup. Like whoever had the best UTR would play 1.
That's nuts, dude. I would be playing summer tournaments to try and like get that up. Then
and they
like,
do, yeah.
I mean, and maybe that's like good incentivization. Like, hey,
but like
I'll get that up.
But the one thing that I would do, like if you really, really cared about it, is like, and this happened to me one time when I was playing a Consi draw, is like I believe Consi still matters for UTR. It's still like a match, I believe. I think that's how it works.
I think so, yeah.
And I was playing some kid, and it was like 6-1, and I was up like 5. Yeah, it was like 4-2, and then I broke him, and it was like 5-2. Like up, and I was gonna go serve, and then he's like and he like started limping. He's like, I'm not gonna tell you his name, but I'm like, dude, and like in my head I'm like, dude, I guarantee he's doing this so he doesn't like get an L for his UTR.
Yeah,
some stupid reason like that. Why else would you do that?
Yeah. No, maybe you can in D1 UTR, like those guys have enough matches too, but like as a coach, I remember, I don't know as a player, but as a coach, we could see everyone's UTRs, and like we weren't going in order for sure. Like, and I just think the UTRs were wrong. Like, So I think UTR is good in a lot of ways, but like it's not perfect. So
For sure.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's
Like,
I don't know.
no ranking system is perfect, but yeah, dude, we're coming up on an hour and 10 minutes. I love this talk. This was awesome. Yeah, we only got a little stint of David. David always makes everything better. He's the most entertaining person I know. But thank you so much for coming on, talking about your new role. I hope you guys have a super good squad this year. I'm disappointed that I don't get to see the Concordia Macalester battle, but
Yeah,
thank you.
that'll come soon enough, hopefully. But yeah, thanks for having me on. It's like long time listener, first time call in, basically. So
There we go.
excited to be on and just chat with you. That was a lot of fun. And so I'll be looking forward to hopefully chatting more in the future. And good luck with Concordia too. And David's been great too. Just my last thing I'll say is David's been really great to me as fellow Mayak guy, always super helpful, answering the questions I've had for him, giving me a phone call to congratulate me on the job, and getting my name even in the mix to get the job too. So David's been awesome. You said it too. We love David. He's an awesome guy, super fun to be around. So I'm glad he could sneak in here for a little. If anyone's gonna watch any part of this, they're probably gonna be watching that one with the real star of the show making a guest or celebrity appearance, almost it felt like. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It was great chatting, and looking forward to start of more tennis and here in the Mayak.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you so much, Chase. Appreciate it.